and welcome. You're watching FII. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now, just last week, we did a detailed episode on jobs and skills that are going to be in vogue in the post-pandemic world. Post-COVID, what are the kind of jobs which will be trending, where there'll be a demand, and what are the skill sets required to survive this world? Now, based on that, a lot of our viewers wrote into us and said that they wanted to know in detail about how exactly the recruiting or the hiring process is going to change post that. So today on Public Demand, we've got for you the top trends and predictions that are to be made when we talk about the hiring fraternity. Okay, so recruiting today looks radically different than it did just about a year ago, accelerated by COVID-19 and the movement for racial justice, changes that are expected to take years and are happening instead in months now. Virtually recruiting remote workers is the new norm for many. Internal mobility and upskilling programs are being built out as well, many for the first time. Diversity is finally being treated with the urgency and accountability that it always deserved. And to help you manage these changes and to get ahead with what's coming up next, LinkedIn actually made 6 bold predictions about the future of recruiting and hiring, what human resourcing will look like in 2021 and even afterwards. Now, these predictions are based on the survey of over 1,500 talent professionals and data points and in-depth interviews that talent leaders around the world have conducted. So let's throw out those predictions for you. Prediction number 1, recruiting will hire less, build and borrow more. That means a lot of work will be outsourced, for instance, and a lot of people internally inside the organization will be asked to build up capacity and fill in and double hat at times. Prediction number 2, recruiting will help keep the businesses accountable on diversity. Now, with the Black Lives Matter movement, with several people saying that their ratio at work, the sex ratio at work has to be looked at, and diversity all through will become central to how people are going to be recruiting. Prediction number 3, virtual recruiting is here to stay. So your interviews, which so far were happening online, well, that means the prediction so far is that that is not going to go anywhere, and even in the future, even when all of us, or most of us are vaccinating, and have got our antibodies up, virtual recruiting will not go anywhere. Prediction number 4, recruiters will lead the transition to remote work. A lot of organizations, remember, in India as well, have already permanently sort of moved to a setup where they will be only going to office, say, once in 15 days, once in 20 days. And how is that going to work out? And this also prediction says that this is going to stay. Prediction number 5, your employer brand will hinge on empathy and actions. Now, no complaining on that front, but this actually tells you how recruiters and how HR professionals, how your company heads are going to be thinking in the post-pandemic world as well, all getting a little bit more humane than usual. And lastly, prediction number 6, it says recruiters will build new skills to align with the business. Now, this is an underlining prediction or survey result of sorts that we've seen across all boards that we saw in skills that will be required in the post-pandemic world, in sort of companies, what they're looking for when they're recruiting people as well. So that is pretty much an underlining factor. In addition to these, according to LinkedIn latest future recruiting report, about 81% of the talent professionals agree that virtual recruiting will continue in the post-pandemic world as well, and about 70% say it will become the new standard. So, what does that make you feel like? Is that making you feel relaxed? Or what exactly should you do to prepare yourself for this sort of recruiting process? We've got some minds, the best of the minds in the industry for you to answer some of those questions. On the program today, we have K. Ganesha. He's a promoter for Big Basket, Protea Medical as well. He joins us on the program. Tushar Garg, the founder for the Yummy idea also joins us on the show. Thanks so much. And also joining us is Mr. Valiyappa. He's the founder for HireMe and CEO for We Technologies. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the panel. And let me just kickstart by bringing in K. Ganesh. Your first thoughts on what these predictions have to say about how the world will be hiring now?
No, very clearly we are seeing a tectonic shift in the way HR and recruitment and hiring process is taking place. We never imagined this would happen if you had asked me in the same program 1.5 years back. Always there is a diverse pool of talent that was available, but typically we tended, the companies tended to look at it, the profiles with a certain level of bias, which means which institute are you from, which degree, which batch, gender, all of that. Now I think it has got completely democratized and opened up. Here is an opportunity to take, using technology to minimize the bias and hire good people from anywhere, anytime. So that very clearly.
When you say good people, define and decode that for us.
Yeah, see, earlier it was determined by your geographical location. So for example, I am from Bangalore. If you are in Indiranagar or Koramangala, given the traffic situation, you are forced to hire within a few kilometers. Otherwise, people have to travel 4 hours a day just to come to office. So that automatically limited the kind of things that you can do. But today, with Zoom, with Skype, with remote working, what it means is I can hire somebody from any remote place, which basically gives me an opportunity to hire a diverse pool of talent. Just take an example. In one of my earlier companies, which is sold to Pearson, in Tutor Vista, we had 6,000 teachers working from their homes across 123 cities in India, teaching kids in US. Now that was possible because it was a unique model of internet teaching the US students from India. Today, that model has become the norm because everybody is working remotely. So suddenly the pool of talent available has increased phenomenally. That's one. Second, what it means is also as a company, I can hire not just for what people have done in the past, but hire for what they have potential for. I can hire for attitude and quality of thinking and the ability to work with others, even though remotely. Okay, right? So that is possible. Earlier, it was limited with the fact that
can I just ask you to give me an example of how are you going to assess these qualities in a person on a Zoom call, on a video chat, because that seems to be a challenge there. And Mr. Valiyappa wants to come on that one. Why don't you go ahead, sir? I'll just come back to Mr. Ganesh.
Sure.
Sonal. Actually, about 4 years ago, we actually created HireMe with exact set of skills. So we created an app where you had three aptitudes: logical, verbal, quantitative, plus the core domain. And we actually did a psychometric analysis as well. So the main aim of HireMe was to try to take and discover talent in rural areas. So discover diamonds in rural areas because we believed in democratizing jobs availability. So that's how we did that. It's a 100-minute assessment, and we're offering it free of charge to any student to go take that test. And then we have a HireMe score, because what's the biggest problem for an average student is that they take various interviews and they keep getting various rejections. So an average student in India gets rejected 24 times before they get a job. So, and every time you go back home, all the parents ask them, what happened to the interview with this company? I failed. But they failed that assessment. They're not a failure, but they consider them to be a failure. So that's how we wanted one app. And there's also a 20-second video clip, and you do 3 20-second video clips. So you set the snake in whichever way you want. If I understand
correctly, a psychometric analysis is basically to tell you more traits and the personality traits of the person as an individual, not just their core area of expertise and not just his technical skills. Is that correct?
Exactly. So like what Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt from Titan Watches told us, he says, give me a guy who speaks great Gujarati. I need somebody to manage the store in Ahmedabad, my Tanishq store or something like that. So it's not that English is the matter. So they can communicate in whatever language, but I want to know that they're an A-type personality if I'm going to put them in sales. So that's how you stratify that. And you can set the level, and only students above that you would show up to you. You click that, you get a 20-second video clip. You like them, and then you can swipe left or right. And that's how the whole model came. And we are offering it free of cost to students. So that's how we wanted to do our bit.
Very interesting example you chose of Tanishq and in Gujarat. So I think many more skills will be required than just knowing Gujarati on that front. But I'll leave it there. Let me bring in Tushar Garg on that matter as well. Tushar, so Mr. Valyappa is basically saying that it's, and what I gathered from Mr. Ganesh as well, that not just your scores in your colleges, not just your percentile on your on-campus recruitments, that are you saying that entire system is going to see a dismantling of sorts?
See, I would like to add on one thing for sure. Both of them have rightly said it, that today recruiters don't go for recruitment. They go for talent acquisition. And, when we talk about the new skills, these are the soft skills, what sir is talking about, leadership, teamwork. And, these are the basic entry-level employment skills and which are intangible assets, which nobody can judge out in a traditional way of CV. And, this is where we have also launched out an application called the Yummy Idea, where we are proposing out, we are giving out our application to the students and to the colleges directly. We don't want people to make out their CV just 5 days before the recruitment. They have to evidence their skills in a different way. They have to nurture out their soft skills and evidence their ways in a digital format. And this is the new way of the recruitment. So, an e-profile. Yes. All
right. E-profiling of sorts is very important, not just what your technical skills are. But
Absolutely.
Mr. Ganesh, can you comment on the fact that what kind of these skills are you primarily looking at? And how has your thinking changed post-pandemic? Like a couple of things which perhaps you weren't thinking about earlier, but now becomes very pertinent.
Yeah. So two things specifically, Sonal, in that respect. One, it's not just remote working, it's also the evolution of the gig economy. So increasingly people are talking about how not full-time, lifetime employment, permanent employees, but can I get people for a specific task, even on part-time or on specific assignments.
That's actually the first prediction on the list, yeah.
Yeah, so the gig economy has become big, which basically means I'm not looking at having 1,000 people organization. I'm looking at having 10,000 people working for me 10% of the time, doing specific job, getting paid for the job. Now it's a win-win all around. One example is like the Uber and the Ola driver who drives when he wants to drive for that period of time, but you still get to travel. So that gig economy is there to stay. So one of the things that we are looking for, and obviously technology is critical and it helps. That it helps you in being able to get bit slice, time slice, 1 hour of work on this. I'm sure you see that in the media too. If I want to get it edited or if you want to get a program like this done, I don't have to employ in full time. I'm not going after your employment, by the way, but I'm just saying from a pure
let's not
contract.
Get there.
Yeah, let's not get there. But on contract you can get a program being done. So one is gig economy is a big complete change in the way we look at things and how to do it. So I think that is a significantly changed the way we approach to work.
How very fascinating is that? Yeah, please go ahead.
Two very specifically, what we are looking for in people when we hire full time is the learnability rather than actual skills. Because what's going to happen is tomorrow is, and I'm maybe biased towards startups because most of our companies have come to the startup sector. The learnability is more important than the domain knowledge. So while you may be an excellent journalist, while you may be very good in content, can you adapt to, say, for example, new format? Can you be on TikTok equally effective or Snapchat now effective and on video rather than just on print? That is more important. What we have done for last 20 years in print media is least relevant. So learnability as a skill, the ability to learn new things as a skill in an employee is more important than actual qualification or domain experience or experience that you have. So these two, I think, are the most fundamental shift in hiring that we are seeing. The gig economy for contract and learnability.
Right. All these examples on journalism is giving me a lot of jitters right now, but we'll...
that was not the intent. I want to be again and in future too. The purpose is not to get me blacklisted.
No, I'll have to up my TikTok game according to that. But we'll while we think about that, let me quickly slip into a break. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. On FII, we are actually discussing what are going to be the recruiting trends, how employers and employees are going to be looking at that process in the post-COVID or the post-pandemic world. Let me go back to my panel now and actually go to Mr. Valiappa now. I wanted to understand actually one of the crucial questions here with the ways recruiting is going to change, or the forms of or the capacity of what one particular profile is going to look like. What sort of bearing is it likely to have on, say, the compensation in that traditional way?
So we're going to see actually some very interesting factors that we're going to see more women in the workplace now. So far, if you look, about 25% of the workforce have been women. But I think that's going to go to about 33% post the lockdown.
Why do you say that?
Because that's what we see, because now work from home is a reality. A lot of women were not allowed to go and work at home because a lot of our employees left saying that I got married, so I couldn't work, or they had to move to where their husbands are and there are not opportunities available there. So now we're moving into rural areas. So we're moving into rural areas. So we lost somebody because they went to Vijayawada because we didn't have an office there. But now we have an office anywhere our employees are. So we are taking work to the employees. So earlier they used to come to work. Now the work is going home. So a lot of more rural people can get jobs, like what we were speaking about in the gig economy. So the jobs are going. And earlier we work on the US healthcare segment in big technologies. So our clients would never allow healthcare work to go home, but today it's being allowed. So that's enabled us to go to 3,000 offices today and operate out. So these people are getting work where they are. So that's how more women come into play. And,
I'm fascinated by what you're saying, because so far the studies that had come out had said that women took the hardest hit of the pandemic.
They do.
Even in the workforce.
It's a boon and a bane. It's a boon and a bane, because at home, our women employees who are in Bangalore or Chennai or Salem, they want to come back and work because there's no yardstick between what's home and what's an office. So they have elderly parents or kids coming in and disturbing them. So that's causing a change. But I think now it's also settling down. So once work from home
matures, you're saying in the long run, you might see a lot of them coming back. Right.
Exactly. So then there's like barriers and barricades to say that, okay, if the red light's on, I'm at work, or the light's on. So,
And empathy being seen by the employers as well, that being a factor. So that should also actually be handling. That's one of the predictions. Quickly finish your point. I'll go to Tushar next.
Yeah, because on the office side, earlier you had an office and the office infrastructure, but in our employee's house, we start carrying. Now the whole shift is moving from healthcare to wellness. For all our employees. So we are now doing a health assessment and trying to make sure that the employees don't get sick, that kind of stuff. So we noticed that the chairs they were sitting were not ergonomic. So we actually took our office chairs, it said the chairs were sitting idle, and shifted to their employees' houses so that they could work better and be more comfortable.
I have last 30 seconds on the show. I just want to quickly get a word from K. Ganesh as well on this entire aspect of mental health here. How exactly are the companies, and what exactly are the companies doing at this point to assess it, not make it into a taboo, or just address the problem even with the present employees?
So I think mental health is a major issue because of pandemic, both in general and specific to employees, given all the challenges that happens because of the pandemic. So two things that the companies are doing and should be doing. One is be open about it. Mental health is like any other challenge that you have that needs to be overcome. One is being open about it, and two, provide a helpline. Provide a way by which people can freely, easily access and talk to counselors to be able to do it. I think both of it is critical. I just want to add a last point that you mentioned about empathy, leading. Companies need to create a brand that bright people want to be part of. Having empathy is very important. Compensation continues to be the third or the fifth reason why people join work. This again is from a study. So what LinkedIn talked about empathy, is very critical. Building that using multiple things, including mental health, I think is completely key.
So compensation comes below empathy being seen as one of the top priorities while you're hiring as well. That's clearly been an eye-opening session. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this very educating program. I hope this helped you and this will help you prepare on how recruiting and hiring will happen in the post-COVID world. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.